I'll never forget that morning at the elementary school in Texas. It was a typical sunny day, kids laughing on the playground, teachers chatting nearby, the kind of day you'd swear was safe, ordinary, perfectly normal. And then it wasn't. I heard it first, a sharp, sudden noise that made every adult freeze in place. At first, I thought someone had dropped something heavy, but then the screams started, piercing and chaotic, echoing across the playground. That's when I saw him, or rather, it hit me. What was really happening? A man with a gun, moving fast, chaos swirling around him. Kids scattered, running in every direction, some crying, some frozen in fear. The entire scene was surreal, almost cinematic, like something out of a movie, but with stakes that were very, very real. And in the middle of it all, this dog appeared. A Weimaraner named Titan, lean, silver gray, eyes sharp and glowing with focus. She was with her owner, Mr. Lewis, a teacher and volunteer safety officer, but the moment Titan saw the danger, she moved with a decisiveness I've never seen in any human, let alone an animal. Kids were screaming, teachers shouting instructions, and Titan didn't hesitate. She bounded toward the nearest group of children huddled behind the swings, tail straight, muscles tense, barking, sharp, commanding, almost like she was yelling, "Follow me now." I swear, I've never seen a dog take charge of a situation like that. Her paws hit the ground in perfect rhythm, dodging rocks, playground equipment, and even flying debris. Mr. Lewis tried to keep up, shouting instructions, trying to direct children to safe zones. Titan, though, was already doing more than anyone could have anticipated. She positioned herself between the children and the shooter, ears pinned, eyes locked, alert to every movement, every shift in the chaos. And the kids, miraculously, started following her lead, moving as if instinctively trusting this dog more than anyone else around. The shooter had started to throw rocks in a panic, trying to hit the kids as they ran. Titan's reaction was instantaneous. She lunged toward any rock that came near the children, barking and nudging them out of the way, positioning herself as a literal shield between the danger and the students. I could see the kids' faces, wide-eyed, clinging to her sides, and the sight of this single dog protecting them in a hail of flying stones against a real gun threat was almost unbearable to watch, the tension so thick you could feel it pressing down on your chest. I ran closer, hoping to do something, anything, but Mr. Lewis was shouting, "Let Titan lead them," and I could only stand back and watch, stunned. Every move Titan made was precise, calculated, almost human in its intentionality. She guided the children toward a sheltered area behind the gym, barking sharply whenever anyone strayed too far from the path or slowed down. Her focus never wavered. She didn't bark at the wrong thing. She didn't freeze. She didn't hesitate. Every step, every leap, every movement was about saving lives. Meanwhile, the kids were responding. They clutched her coat, her legs, her tail, whatever they could reach, and followed as she led them through a maze of playground equipment, ducking behind benches, weaving around obstacles, and somehow avoiding the rocks and the chaos. And Titan, she occasionally turned her head to make sure they were still following, her eyes communicating a silent message, "Stay with me. Don't stop." It was awe-inspiring and terrifying all at once. One boy tripped over a swing chain, crying out, and Titan immediately backed up, nudged him gently with her nose, and barked sharply toward the path, directing him to get up and keep moving. I can't stress enough how precise and composed she was. And the parents, teachers, and even nearby students who weren't directly in the path froze, witnessing what can only be described as a miracle unfold in real time. At one point, the shooter moved closer, throwing a rock with more force, and Titan's response was flawless. She intercepted the projectile, barking furiously, positioning herself to block the children from the incoming danger. The children froze for a second, fear etched on their faces, but Titan didn't flinch. She barked again, low and commanding, and the kids moved instinctively, following her lead toward the gym wall, the closest safe zone. I glanced at Mr. Lewis, whose face was pale and strained, sweat dripping down his temple. He whispered, almost to himself, "I don't know how she does it. I don't know how she sees it all." And I realized he was right. Titan wasn't just reacting. She was thinking, analyzing the situation, prioritizing threats, making split-second decisions that could mean life or death. It wasn't training alone. It wasn't instinct alone. It was a combination of intelligence, courage, and a loyalty that you can't really teach. By now, the children had reached the far side of the gym, huddled behind a wall, trembling, some crying quietly, some shaking but silent in shock. Titan stayed close, circling, her eyes sweeping for any further danger. She didn't sit down, she didn't relax, she didn't look at the adults in praise or recognition. She remained vigilant, a living shield, until the last student was safely behind the wall. And then, as if sensing the immediate danger had lessened, she finally allowed herself a slight shake, fur rippling, tail flicking once, still alert, but no longer in full combat mode. The kids started to whisper, patting her, hugging her neck, brushing mud and dust off her coat, murmuring little thank yous. And Titan, she accepted their attention, but with an air of professionalism, like, yes, I did what I had to do, and now we move on. Even as the police and emergency responders arrived, corralling the shooter and securing the area, Titan remained calm, staying with Mr. Lewis, occasionally looking back at the children to ensure they were safe. It was a strange mix of relief and residual tension in the air. Everyone was shaken, but alive. And it was undeniable. Without Titan's decisive, fearless actions, things could have ended very differently that day. I remember thinking, standing there on that sunlit schoolyard, watching kids cling to her coat, teachers trying to regain composure, and the dog sitting quietly, eyes scanning the perimeter. Heroism doesn't always come with a uniform. It doesn't always come with recognition. Sometimes, it comes with fur, loyalty, and the unyielding courage to step into danger when everyone else is running away. And that's where part 1 ends. The chaos, the panic, the fear, but also the incredible focus and bravery of Titan, the Weimaraner who led a group of children to safety, shielded them from harm, and navigated a terrifying, real-life emergency with intelligence and instinct that left everyone watching in awe. By the time the last group of kids huddled behind the gym wall, the chaos wasn't over. The shooter had moved closer to the playground, his movements erratic, and Titan's ears perked instantly. Her body stiffened, tail straight, eyes scanning the area, taking in every movement, every shadow, every potential threat. Mr. Lewis whispered, "Titan, stay sharp." But he didn't need to. She was already 5 steps ahead, fully in control. The kids behind the wall were trembling, whispering to each other, trying to make sense of the noise, the rocks flying, the yelling. Some were crying, others frozen in shock. Titan stepped forward, letting them know it was safe to move, nuzzling the nearest child, tail flicking, as if to say, "Follow me carefully. Stay close." She positioned herself between them and the open playground, ensuring that no rock or sudden movement could reach them as they began to inch toward the next cover point, a line of picnic tables near the cafeteria. The shooter noticed the movement and hurled another rock. Titan reacted instantly. She lunged sideways, intercepting the rock mid-flight with a sharp bark, startling the shooter momentarily, buying precious seconds for the children to move a few steps closer to safety. It was cinematic, almost unbelievable. Every action of hers seemed perfectly timed, every movement deliberate. The kids followed her lead, moving in sync, their small hands gripping her coat or tail, trusting her entirely. At one point, a child stumbled on a garden hose lying across the asphalt. Titan immediately circled back, nudging the child upright with her nose and letting out a low, commanding bark. It was enough to snap the child out of panic and regain composure. Meanwhile, the shooter, frustrated, threw another rock, but Titan was ready. She dodged, intercepted it, barked sharply, then led the children along the path between the swings and the jungle gym. I could feel my heart hammering. Every second mattered. One wrong step, one missed warning, and the situation could spiral. But Titan, she didn't hesitate once. She evaluated the threat, anticipated the shooter's next move, and guided the children accordingly. Her actions were fluid, instinctual, yet precise, a blend of courage and intelligence that was almost human in its execution. Mr. Lewis was trying to maintain control, shouting directions, but it was clear the children were responding more to Titan than to anyone else. She had taken command of the scene, positioning herself to shield the kids while moving them toward the cafeteria doors. At one point, the shooter tried to approach from the side, and Titan intercepted him with a bark and a firm stance, forcing him to retreat temporarily. The kids kept moving, pressed close together, following her every step. And then, there was a moment that froze time. A rock, bigger than the previous ones, flew toward a small group of children. Titan reacted with lightning speed, moving in front of them, chest pressed forward, barking, eyes locked on the flying object, paws ready to adjust her position. She deflected the rock with a precise nudge from her shoulder, saving the children from impact. It was raw, nerve-wracking, breathtaking. The shooter's frustration grew, but Titan remained composed, unwavering, scanning for the next threat. The children were still moving, adrenaline coursing, and Titan made sure no one lagged behind. She paused briefly at a bench, letting a smaller child catch up, then nudged him along gently, tail flicking, ears forward. Every movement she made was about survival, about keeping these kids safe, about leading them through a living nightmare. The shooter attempted one last erratic throw, but Titan's attention was sharp. She intercepted the object again, growled low, and her stance communicated to the children, "Move quickly, stay low, stay close." It was astonishing to witness. She wasn't panicking. She wasn't overwhelmed. She was focused, strategic, heroic. Finally, they reached the line of picnic tables near the cafeteria. Titan guided the children behind them, pressing close to shield them, ears scanning, tail flicking for balance. The kids crouched behind her, trembling but alive, and Titan's presence provided a strange but powerful reassurance. Even in the midst of chaos, she radiated confidence and control. Mr. Lewis approached cautiously, praising her quietly. "Good girl. You're doing great." Titan glanced briefly at him, then back at the children, ensuring everyone was accounted for. She was still fully alert, still ready to react if the shooter tried anything else, and the children slowly began to grasp a sense of safety through her calm, commanding presence. The police and security personnel had arrived by now, moving in from the parking lot and entrances, securing the scene. Titan remained with Mr. Lewis, standing between him and the children, chest heaving, ears flicking, eyes locked on the area. The kids slowly started to cry softly, relief mixing with lingering fear. Titan allowed a brief wag of her tail, acknowledging their safety without relaxing fully. By this point, parents and other teachers had arrived, rushing to gather the children, checking for injuries, offering comfort. Titan stayed at the center, quiet now but alert, letting them all know she had been the one who kept them safe. The sheer bravery, focus, and intelligence she had demonstrated left everyone watching in awe. One child whispered, She's amazing," and I had to nod in agreement. She really was. Even as the chaos wound down, the adrenaline slowly fading, Titan remained vigilant, never losing her sense of purpose. Mr. Lewis patted her head, still catching his own breath, saying, "You saved lives today. All of them." And Titan, in her quiet, disciplined way, seemed to accept that acknowledgement, though her eyes were already scanning the area, prepared for any last-minute danger. The shooter was taken into custody shortly after, the threat neutralized. But the lesson of that day was clear. Without Titan's swift, fearless, and intelligent actions, the outcome could have been very different. Her ability to assess threats, protect children, and guide them to safety was extraordinary, and the coordination between her and Mr. Lewis highlighted a level of trust and teamwork that went beyond ordinary understanding. People who had witnessed the events were whispering among themselves, some recording on their phones, some staring silently, absorbing the gravity of what they had seen. Titan, exhausted but composed, trotted back to Mr. Lewis, tail flicking, ears forward, fur wet from some dust and debris kicked up by the chaos. She had performed heroics that few could imagine, yet she carried herself as if it were the most natural thing in the world. By the end of that terrifying episode, the kids had all been accounted for, taken to safe rooms, or escorted home by parents. Titan had emerged as the undeniable hero of the moment. Her courage, intelligence, and unwavering loyalty had saved lives, and her actions would be remembered, whispered about, and admired for years to come. I remember standing on the edge of the playground, watching her settle beside Mr. Lewis, and thinking about what real bravery looks like. It isn't about medals or speeches. It isn't about recognition. It is about instinct, courage, and commitment to those who depend on you, whether you walk on 2 legs or 4. And Titan, she embodied that truth perfectly. The children began to approach her tentatively, patting her fur, murmuring thanks, while teachers encouraged them to remain calm. Titan allowed it, standing quietly, tail flicking, eyes softening just a fraction, as if to say, "I'm still here, and you're safe." And in that moment, everyone realized, heroism sometimes comes with fur, paws, and a sharp gaze that refuses to look away in the face of danger. By the time the police secured the campus and confirmed that the threat was neutralized, the adrenaline in the air had shifted to a kind of stunned relief. The children were huddled together, trembling, still clutching their backpacks, still shaken from the chaos. And right there, in the middle of it all, stood Titan, alert but calm, tail flicking occasionally, eyes scanning the area even though the danger had passed. She had been the anchor throughout the entire ordeal, the constant figure of courage that the kids instinctively trusted. Mr. Lewis patted her gently on the head, his voice still strained from shouting earlier. "You saved them all, Titan. Every single one." Titan blinked slowly, as if acknowledging the words, but without any hint of arrogance. She had done what she had to do, and that was enough. The kids slowly approached her, tentative at first, then more confident, patting her fur, hugging her neck, murmuring little thanks. And with every touch, she remained composed, aware, and completely focused on the safety of those around her. I watched as the teachers, parents, and first responders tried to calm the children, offering water, comfort, and reassurance. But you could tell that the kids' sense of security, their immediate trust, had been rooted in Titan. She had led them through terror and danger, demonstrating a level of intelligence, courage, and loyalty that none of us could have fully anticipated. Even as officers took statements and escorted the shooter away, Titan remained poised, a symbol of bravery amid the lingering fear. The children, now beginning to settle, whispered stories to each other about what had happened. "The dog, she saved us," one child said softly. "She blocked the rocks and helped us run," another added. And you could see in their faces the mixture of relief and admiration, the gratitude that was impossible to fully express in words. Titan, meanwhile, nudged them gently when they got too close, guiding them to stay calm, guiding them to safe spots, and reinforcing the lessons she had imparted during the chaos: trust, focus, and courage. I glanced at Mr. Lewis, whose face was pale but smiling faintly, a mixture of pride and exhaustion. "People don't realize what dogs like Titan can do," he said quietly. "It's not just training. It's instinct, it's heart, and it's loyalty." She knew what to do when nobody else could. Watching Titan beside him, I realized he was right. What we had just witnessed wasn't simply a well-trained dog following commands. It was a living example of courage, instinct, and the profound bond that can exist between humans and animals in moments of life or death stakes. By the time parents arrived to take their children home, Titan had been hugged, patted, and whispered to repeatedly, yet she remained unflustered, professional almost, as if her job wasn't about recognition. She had acted decisively, efficiently, and heroically, and now she was letting the children feel safe while maintaining vigilance. Even in exhaustion, there was a quiet dignity to her presence. I thought about the kids, many of whom were still shaking but alive, and how their memories of that day would forever include a silver-gray Weimaraner leading them through danger. Titan had done more than save lives. She had left an impression that would shape how they understood courage and loyalty for the rest of their lives. And in a way, that's just as important as the physical rescue. The teachers and administrators gathered later to recount what had happened, to ensure everyone was safe, and to process the trauma. But the story that circulated most quickly, the part that everyone focused on, was Titan's role. A dog had, in the most extraordinary way, led a group of terrified children to safety, shielding them from rocks and imminent harm, acting decisively in a situation where adults were overwhelmed by fear and chaos. Parents were amazed, shaking their heads, many recording brief videos on their phones, trying to capture the heroism. The children's eyes lit up when talking about Titan. They described how she barked, blocked danger, nudged them along, and somehow seemed to read the threat before it arrived. Even adults found themselves whispering in disbelief. "I've never seen a dog do that." And indeed, it was rare, extraordinary, and unforgettable. Titan herself, after the chaos, returned to Mr. Lewis' side, panting lightly, eyes alert, fur dusted with dirt and the debris from the playground. She had earned her moment of rest, but even as she settled, her gaze kept scanning the school grounds. Vigilance was in her nature. Loyalty, courage, and awareness defined her actions, and they had saved lives that morning. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the playground, it became clear to everyone who had witnessed the events. Heroism does not always wear a uniform. It doesn't always come with fame or medals. Sometimes it comes with fur legs, and unwavering courage when the stakes are highest. Titan had embodied all of it. She had acted decisively, instinctively, and selflessly, protecting those who could not protect themselves. Standing there, watching the kids laugh nervously, wiping tears, hugging their parents, I realized the depth of the lesson Titan had imparted. Trust, courage, loyalty, and the willingness to act in the face of danger are qualities we can all aspire to. Sometimes, the smallest among us, or the four-legged, can demonstrate them most clearly. So here's the question for anyone watching. If you were in that playground, seeing chaos erupt, rocks flying, fear everywhere, could you act as decisively as Titan did? Could you protect those in danger, lead them to safety, trust instinct and training in the midst of terror? And if you have a dog of your own, could you imagine them acting with the kind of bravery, focus, and loyalty that Titan displayed? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Share your stories, your own experiences of courage, loyalty, and heroism, whether human or animal. As for Titan, she'll likely continue her work, living her life with the quiet pride of a hero who doesn't need applause. But for the children, teachers, parents, and everyone who witnessed her that morning, she will always remain unforgettable. A silver-gray Weimaraner who stared danger in the face and refused to look away. She reminds us that courage comes in many forms, and sometimes, the bravest act is the one done instinctively, in the service of protecting others. And that's the story of Titan, the Weimaraner who saved a group of children in Texas. A story of loyalty, instinct, courage, and the extraordinary bond between humans and animals. A story worth sharing, remembering, and reflecting on.